Who is ready to make some science?
Hey everybody, it's me, DeoGenZ, welcoming you to another edition of OP Pokemon Trainer Strategy. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about the final evolution of the Alolan starter Rowlet. It's Decidueye, and I actually chose this guy for my starter, so it's personal. And if you'd like to raise one past the story mode and actually battle with it with some use in metagame, unfortunately you're not going to have access immediately to the ability Long Range, which is hidden. And what that will do is allow Decidueye to use its attacks without making any contact on the Pokemon it strikes, so that's great looking at its physical attack stat there with a 107 base. Because if you're able to strike your foe without considering anything like effect spore abilities or Rocky Helmet, you're going to be immune to a lot of secondary effects that can really cripple this Pokemon later in metagame. When it comes to the items it can hold, I do recommend Leftovers because again we're seeing another sort of specially defensive bulky Pokemon, good against Psychics for sure, as long as they're not armed with any sort of Dark Pulse, but we'll get into that in the EV section. And also, Decidueye has access to a special Z crystal, Deciduum Z. This will upgrade its signature move Spirit Shackle into the devastating Sinister Arrow Raid. And speaking of which, let's head out into the field and find out how to raise ourselves a Ghost Owl. Starting out, we have the simple maxing out of two stats, physical attack and special defense, since if you go back to the stats section, you'll see that Decidueye's main two stats would be those, so it's best to max those out if you want to have an OP Decidueye in metagame, and the way that you would run this set is mainly by being offensive. I would not consider Roost for the bulky striker set. I would consider things like Sucker Punch so that you can switch out on a Psychic Pokemon, absorb all of its special attacks with your bulky special defense there that you've maxed out in the Pelago with 63 sessions of exercise and special defense hydration training. Once you've done that, you should be able to switch out on those Psychics and then Sucker Punch those fools if they decide to stay in, even if they are planning to use something like a Dark Pulse, which I mentioned earlier is something that can be quite troubling to this Ghost Grass type. If you'd like your Decidueye to have a bit more staying power on the field, then I recommend the Healing Archer set. This set still maxes out the physical attack so that it's got a great amount of power to dish out at your opponent, but also considers its health points as a factor in staying on the field. If you go back to its stats, you'll notice that its health is nothing remarkable, so while you do have great special defense, it's not going to do you a whole lot in terms of staying power unless you also have some additional investment in health points. That's why I split it down the middle, 126 to special defense, 126 to hit points. And for this set, I definitely recommend the Roost over Synthesis because Synthesis is a sun-based healing move, which means that weather conditions will affect how Decidueye heals. You don't need that extra factor when considering a Healing Archer set. You just want your owl to stay in the trees and keep firing arrows for as long as it can. So that's why you want to go Roost over Synthesis. When it comes to dividing stats and not maxing out one stat or another so only two are maxed, I'm really interested to hear what you guys do in the comments below for your own metagame matches. See, I've been partial to just splitting the 252 between two other stats that I would like some increases on, but I've seen on Smogon some differences where maybe you'd want to partition more of your EVs toward the health points of Decidueye since it's kind of low and its special defense is already naturally high. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts below. And if you enjoy this series and want to see more from me, consider supporting me on Patreon, where I do shiny giveaways and battle tournaments for anybody who's a patron. I've been DeoGenZ, and I'll see you in future episodes.